Hello, this is Philip Young, and today I'm going to present my wireless connectivity project for Savannah citizens. And the goal is to bring wireless connectivity to downtown Savannah, give citizens and tourists access to the internet, and basically connected citizens equal productive citizens and happy tourists, and everyone's more connected. They're able to access the internet wherever they are in the downtown area, so that's definitely a good thing. And how can this goal be accomplished? Well, I have two options that I'm going to be looking at here today with you guys. The first option is WiMAX, and the second option is traditional wireless. It is interesting to note that most major telecommunications carriers have already adopted LTE for cellular communications. And I've looked at satellite options, but that's not really a viable option because we're trying to bring a small area in downtown Savannah where there's plenty of connectivity. It's just not a viable option because we're not looking at a rural area or a remote area. This is a major city area. And our target users are going to be citizens of downtown Savannah, of course tourists, government officials, city officials, and that type of thing. The main goal is that all will pay a service charge. Just looking at everything, it's just not a viable option to essentially have a free Wi-Fi because it would be difficult to handle operations cost, installations cost, and that type of thing. And just a little bit of information about downtown Savannah. You can see more of the target area here. On the graphic to the right, you can see what all encompasses the downtown area. According to citydata.com, there's a population of 6,821. And as also you can see on the map, there are several parks. There are several attractions in the city as well. And of course, there's River Street. So all those areas could benefit from a wireless service. And the first option, of course, is WiMAX, and the service range is 50 kilometers. That'd be more than enough for the downtown area. We have a shared data rate of 70 megabits per second, and service up to 1,000 homes with access. We do need a tower to use that, and it does operate on the 802.16 IEEE standard. And it's not your traditional wireless like how we think about Wi-Fi. It uses more microwave technology, and it's actually an older standard. I believe Clear was one of the bigger providers of this service. Since then, they have been bought out by Sprint. And how can we incorporate WiMAX in Savannah? Well, we're going to need towers. We're going to need to procure them. We may need to think about several towers to meet the population density. Of course, this can fluctuate with certain parts of the year. Of course, St. Patrick's Day and that type of thing. Halloween for those people that like to visit the cemeteries there. And basically the main way that users are going to connect, they're going to have their own devices, BYOD, and providing they have the necessary hardware, because WiMAX and Wi-Fi are kind of two separate things. Most cell phones they have receptors for Wi-Fi, but unfortunately with WiMAX it's a different story. And how we're going to incorporate it again, basically we need to have a high-speed internet connection, base stations. That's what those towers are. And by charging the fee, we can recoup installation operation costs by charging a monthly fee for access, or we can do daily or weekly fees to recoup those costs. And you can see here, there's just some examples of base stations for WiMAX. Based on my research, they range from about $6,000 to $15,000 per station. There's an antenna included, and here's some samplings that I found online. Obviously, if you're going to have multiple stations, it's going to be expensive if you go with the $15,000 model. And there's just a problem with the WiMAX. So there's just not many devices, phones or tablets, that are enabled for WiMAX. Laptop users, however, they can procure a piece of hardware, a card that they can put in their laptop and be able to access the server or the service. But the thing is that most users, these are everybody, that they're probably going to be trying to access it from their tablets and smartphones, iPads, Android tablets, that type of thing. And most telecommunication carriers are slowly dropping WiMAX. It's slowly becoming a thing of the past. Is there a better solution for the downtown area for wireless connectivity? Oh, yes, there is. And we can use traditional Wi-Fi. Operates on 802.11 IEEE standard. We would need several materials. We would need an internet connection, some routers, bridges, repeaters, antennas, and we need to think about strategic placement to ensure that the signal strength is sufficient. And another thing is, what are the operation and access costs? Well, with the Wi-Fi access, we're going to need a license through hardware vendors or ISP to provide access. We'll need an ISP for the connection. I know that some of the hardware vendors, they offer licensing for network access. And the continued access will be a monthly operational cost of the service. Your ISP will charge monthly, as well as the licenses. Some of the licenses could be yearly, but a lot of them offer monthly times. And there is since there's going to be so many users, we're going to need a very high-speed connection. Possibly looking at T1, T3, that type of connection, so we can make sure that everything is fast. Everyone's able to access the network and it can handle the increased bandwidth with several citizens using the network at once. Placement of the routers. Well, for the parks, thinking possibly outdoor routers to ensure that there's sufficient signal, and we just need to have strategic placements on the streets to ensure that signal is everywhere. Below, you can see some samplings of outdoor routers. As you can see, they're not that well. They are kind of expensive, and that is for just one of these devices. And the repeaters and the antennas, that'll boost the wireless signal throughout downtown Savannah. So again, we would need to consider how we're going to strategically place those on the streets, possibly in some of the buildings. So in the buildings, more to elaborate on that, we need to ensure that the connectivity is sufficient in the buildings. Some of the larger buildings, we may need to think about placing the repeaters or antennas inside so they can be receptive to the signal. And the cost for access, free is just not a viable option, because we're going to have several operation and installation costs. And the access costs can in fact help us recoup the cost of initially implementing and providing a continual operation basis. And the costs the cost options or the access options that we would provide or offer are daily, weekly, and monthly access. Overall, I think using Wi-Fi and boosting the signals is most likely a more viable option, considering most devices now are Wi-Fi enabled versus the older standard of WiMAX. And that is the conclusion